You already consider yourself disciplined. You wake up early, you work hard, you take care of your body, you've read the books, done the challenges, followed the protocols. By every visible metric, you are ahead of most people. And yet, there's a version of yourself you still haven't become. A quieter version, a steadier version. The version that doesn't need to announce its discipline, that doesn't need to measure it, that doesn't even think of it as discipline anymore, because it's simply who you are. The samurai called the gap between where you are and that version of yourself Suki. It means the opening, the unguarded space, the moment of vulnerability that a skilled opponent, or life itself, will always find. Most men never close it. Not because they're not trying, because they're working on the wrong thing. Here's what nobody who sells discipline will ever tell you. There are two completely different things that most men call discipline, and they look almost identical from the outside. The first is performed discipline, the 5 a.m. wake-up, the documented workout, the visible sacrifice, the public commitment to the grind. This kind of discipline is real, the effort is real, the results are real, but its engine runs on something external, on measurement, on comparison, on the psychological reward of being the kind of person who does hard things. The second kind has no name in English. It doesn't post. It doesn't measure. It doesn't need witnesses. It's not something you do. It's something you've become. And the difference between those two things is the difference between a samurai who trained for 60 years and a man who has been disciplined for 60 days. Now, be honest with yourself for a moment. Which one are you actually building? Because here is the uncomfortable truth. Most men plateau. They build visible discipline, the kind that produces results, attracts respect, fills the highlight reel, and then they stop. Not because they got lazy, because they confused the result for the destination. The samurai didn't have goals, they had a way. The way of the warrior, Bushido, wasn't a destination. It was a direction, a permanent orientation, a commitment to a standard of being that could never be completed, only practiced. And that distinction between destination and direction is the gap that separates the 99 from the 1. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what the samurai built that most men never will. For over 700 years, between roughly 1185 and the late 19th century, Japan was shaped by a warrior class whose entire existence was organized around a single question. How does a man live well in the constant presence of death? Not theoretically, literally. The samurai woke up every morning knowing they might be called to die before nightfall. And from that constraint, from that radical clarity about what life actually was, they built something that most modern philosophy can only gesture toward. They didn't build it in books. They built it in bodies, in daily practice, in the 10,000 repetitions of a sword cut in an empty dojo at 3 in the morning when nobody was watching and there was no reward for doing it. What came out of that practice wasn't discipline in the modern sense. It was something deeper, something that had its own name. The Japanese called it Jiko Seigyo, self-mastery, not self-control, not discipline, mastery. And the difference between those three words is not semantic, it is the entire distance between who most men are and who they are capable of becoming. Level 1. Kikubari, awareness before action. The samurai's first discipline wasn't physical. It wasn't the sword, it wasn't the body, it was the eyes. Kikubari, often translated as attentiveness, describes a state of extended, ambient awareness that the samurai cultivated as a foundation for everything else. Not the vigilant, anxious awareness of someone who expects danger, the relaxed, receptive awareness of someone who simply sees what is. Most men operate at the opposite of Kikubari. They are so focused on what they are trying to do, on the performance, on the metric, on the goal, that they stop noticing what is actually happening around them. They miss the moment their partner started becoming distant. They miss the signal their body has been sending for 6 months. They miss the opportunity that appeared 3 conversations ago and never came back, because their awareness was narrowed to a spotlight when life requires a lantern. Practical application. Once a day, before you open your phone, before you speak to anyone, before you decide anything, sit still for 5 minutes and simply notice. What is the quality of your mind right now? What does your body feel like? What is the actual emotional weather inside you at this moment? Not to fix it, not to judge it, just to see it clearly. That's the beginning of Jiko Seigyo. Level 2. Fudoshin, the immovable mind. This is where most men live when they think about discipline, and it's genuinely good. Fudoshin, the immovable mind, is the ability to remain stable when pressure is applied, to not flinch, to not react from emotion, to hold your position when everything around you is moving. This is what cold showers train, what fasting trains, what difficult conversations train. It is real, it is valuable, it is necessary, but it is not the destination. Here's the limitation of Fudoshin alone. A man who has trained only Fudoshin is stable, but stability can become rigidity. The immovable mind, taken to its extreme without the levels above it, becomes a man who doesn't bend, even when bending is wisdom. The samurai who achieved true Jiko Seigyo could be immovable and fluid at the same moment. Like water. Water yields to every obstacle. Water never fights the shape of the container. Water has no fixed form, and water, over enough time, cuts through stone. Question for you. Is the thing you call discipline a foundation you're building on, or a wall you're hiding behind? Level 3. Heijoshin, ordinary mind as mastery. This is the level that breaks most men open when they first encounter it. Heijoshin, the ordinary mind or everyday mind, is the samurai concept that the highest state of mastery is indistinguishable from ordinary daily life. The samurai who had truly mastered himself was not more intense than ordinary men. He was less intense, more ordinary, more present, more unremarkable in the daily rhythms of his life. He ate his rice with full attention. He cleaned his space with full care. He greeted people with full presence, not because these acts were important, because they were the practice by which he kept the blade of his awareness constantly sharp. Practical application. Choose the most ordinary task in your day, the one you do on autopilot: washing dishes, making coffee, walking to your car. Do it tomorrow, as if it matters completely, not to get anything from it, just to see if you can be fully where you are in a moment that gives you nothing in return. That's Heijoshin, and it's harder than any cold plunge you've ever taken. Level 4. Mushotoku, action without seeking gain. This is the level that separates the deeply disciplined from the truly free. Mushotoku, directly translated, no gaining idea. The practice of acting with complete commitment and full effort, without attachment to the result. It is not indifference. It is not giving up on outcomes. It is not nothing matters. Mushotoku is the paradox that the less you need a specific result, the better you perform in pursuit of it. Practical application. Identify one area of your life where your performance is inconsistent. Before that activity, state your full intention, what you want to achieve clearly. Then consciously set it down and perform from the space that remains after you've done that. Level 5. Jiko Kansei, the never finished self. This is the level that makes everything else make sense. Jiko Kansei, the pursuit of self-completion, with the full, clear understanding that completion is not possible, not a failure condition, a design feature. Miyamoto Musashi at 60 years old, 2 years before his death, was still referring to himself as a student of the way, not a master, a student. This is the recognition that the self is not a project to be completed. It is a practice to be inhabited every day for the rest of your life, because achievement was always a side effect of the practice, never the practice itself. That's Jiko Kansei, the never finished self, and it's the most freeing idea I have ever encountered. So, let's return to the beginning, the 99%. I don't think most men fail because they're not trying. I think most men fail because they're working on the visible layer of a very deep structure. The samurai hierarchy we covered today was never meant to be a destination. It was meant to be a map that lets you see exactly where you are and exactly which direction you need to walk next. Kikubari, extend your awareness. Fudoshin, build your immovable center. Heijoshin, find mastery in the ordinary. Mushotoku, act without needing the result. Jiko Kansei, commit to the never finished self. 5 levels, 1 direction, no finish line. That is Jiko Seigyo. That is self-mastery. The question is not whether you're capable of it. The question is whether you're willing to trade the visible, measurable, post-able version of discipline for the one that no one will ever see. The one that changes who you actually are. That trade is the whole game. And it starts with a single, ordinary moment, like this one. Before you close this video, I want you to sit with one question. Of the 5 levels we covered, Kikubari, Fudoshin, Heijoshin, Mushotoku, Jiko Kansei, which one describes where you currently live? Not where you want to be, where you actually are right now. Honestly, drop it in the comments. The number or the name. One word is enough. If this is your first time here, this is what presence and purpose is. Subscribe. Hit the bell. One more thing. If you want to go deeper into Jiko Seigyo, just comment Seigyo. See you in the next one.